Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Sam Zagar. We're hopping into another YouTube reading. Of course we are. I do a ton of these. We're going to do a 4/6 splenic projector today, and they got a pretty big intake form. I personally prefer going over the questions when the chart is on the screen. I think it gives you all the chance to kind of follow along with me. So let's get the chart back on the screen and see what we got going on. Okay. Are you having a problem you need help with? The journey through my variables. I feel like my determination and I are suspiciously staring at each other for years in a Cold War. I'm worried that, as this is the start, I'm not really feeding my body in a transformational or nourishing way. Okay, so this is someone who's watched me do a couple of these four transformations readings, and they're like, I think I keep messing up step one. Okay, what's your biggest question? I'm playing with my determination for around 2 years already. I really still cannot get a grasp of mine. I thought others would have felt way more suiting. It feels almost ironic to have high sound written, as I'm currently exploring being on the autism spectrum and being super sensitive, and especially sounds can cause stress up to meltdowns. To listen to music and sounds, etc., I need to be in a spacious state. What resonates about high sound determination? Fasting and restricting calories feels very unhealthy. Okay, good, good. I do like soundscapes like Endel to calm my nervous system. I don't know what Endel is, but I'm definitely going to look it up now. What else are you curious about? It may be related to struggling with the starting point of the variable journey, but I feel almost cursed when it comes to visibility for my entrepreneurial creative work with websites. How often I've heard the sentence from people who know me, what you do, share, and represent is so huge, great, and wonderful. I really don't get why your account's not blowing up yet. Yeah, me too. Hashtag recognition wound. Oh, you're funny. I like this. This led to an on and off again relationship with my business, always coming back to it because I love doing it, but I'm never really financially supported. Maybe my chart is whispering something to you related to that topic. Anything else you want me to know? I love this format. Cool. Okay. I feel like we're friends already. Okay. What are we let's go to the beginning. Determination. We have a high sound determination. Now, this person says that they have been playing with this for around 2 years already. I'm going to give them a little bit more credit than that. They've been playing with their determination for almost 34 years. You had to eat, right? The minute you were born, you had to eat. Now, what's a more accurate and interesting thing to say is your parents or your caregivers or your guardians, whatever you got, they're the ones that played with your determination for a very long time. Now, the question is, did they mess you up? And how quickly can I get you back? High sound determination. Now, I'm not saying that this is a misunderstanding that you have, but the most common misunderstanding with the sound determinations is that they are literal in terms of volume, as in high volume and low volume. If you have a high sound determination person and you tell them that they need high volume things, I'm not sure that you're actually going to help them that much, if at all. When I think about high, I actually think about complexity. Let's tie this into the active brain a little bit. We have an active brain. The reason we have an active brain is because of the second tone level. This person has an active brain because they have taste cognition. Now, because there is the leftness, because of the taste cognition, there are two directions that any determination can go. They will go in a left or right direction. So I have the sound direction, but does it go left or right? It goes left. It goes active. Think about it like you have active sound rather than you have passive sound. A passive brain would be low sound determination. Now, I'm going to say a couple of things that you said already. It feels ironic to have high sound, as I'm currently exploring being on the autism spectrum and being super sensitive, especially that because sounds can cause stress that leads to a meltdown. I'm going to play a little bit more with a couple of things here. Let's just play with sound or acoustics in general in terms of this person's body graph. What else is going to get me for that? The channel of inspiration. The channel of inspiration is not only a vocal channel, but it's an individual channel. All individual channels, all channels and individual circuitry have a quality of mutative frequency, mutative acoustics. So when we use the word sound for your determination, I also want you to play with the words acoustics and frequency. So you like high acoustics or you like high frequency. How does it feel to taste that language in comparison to just like high sound? Sounds can cause stress up to a meltdown. The individual is not here to be influenced. The individual is very acoustically sensitive. Now, this is not a pure individual. I've got a floating individual channel, and then I've got a floating down here tribal channel, and that's where this person's authority actually is. So when I'm looking at their authority, I'm not only very splenic, but quite tribal. But there is still an individual channel that's a throat channel that's acoustic, that is here to honestly influence, but not be influenced. The number one thing that I want you to think about with sound is if you don't like the sound, turn it off. If you're unable to turn it off, do your best to leave the area where the sound is coming in. I believe that the wrong sound will completely scramble your brain. I think that you're validating this for me when you say autism spectrum, very sensitive to sounds, stress leading up to a meltdown. Now, what else makes you very sensitive? The fact that you're a projector. You only have 4 defined centers. There's a very good chance when somebody walks into the room with a defined sacral center, or a defined solar plexus center, or a defined ego, or a defined head, or a defined ajna, you're feeling overwhelmed. Energetically, at a base level, there's a very good chance with people, when people who have definition that you don't have walk into the room, it's a very good chance that you're feeling quite overwhelmed. Now, that's not to be like, you're super sensitive and you'll always be overwhelmed when people like, no. There's a very good chance that you're especially overwhelmed when unhealthy people walk into the room. You're a defined spleen, right? So I'm trying to suss out the things here where your body is going to push back against something. You are pushing back against the wrong sounds, against certain kinds of interference, against things that are going to mess with your health. When I hear that you need spaciousness to have sounds, it's like I can't typically take in sounds because I'm already overwhelmed. I'm already like irritated. Part of what we have to acknowledge is it is so much about the right sound. And it's weird to say like the right sound is in like what makes a right sound. One that your spleen is okay with. And when I say that, I mean one where your authority is not like, get me the hell out of here. This is damaging to me. I don't like this. There's a good chance if you walk into a house and there's a lot of audio stuff going on, it's immediately overwhelming because you are being exposed to so many different frequencies, so many different truths, and so many different things that you could have to focus on. You are not a focus person. You have a very active brain and a strategic mind, which means that you have a little bit of like a kind of busy, neurotic feeling. I'm like headset, mindset, like the way that you think and process is intense, but your body's telling me a different story. And not even so much your body, but like the story and setting, the storyline and setting of your life is telling me a very different story. It's telling me a right story, a passive, peripheral, wide angle. Like you're meant to, your body wants a lot of space, a lot of big picture, you want to observe. And then here's the kicker, your kitchen's environment. Kitchens environments are usually pretty loud places. And that's not me just being literal, like restaurants play music. No, like just think about even like the banging of pots and pans. Now, don't be literal about the kitchen. Turn it into a creative studio, turn it into a science lab. Like you are still going to have the noise of creativity, the noise of breaking bonds, of crashing into things. Yes, you are acoustically sensitive, but it's not just like to noise or to certain decibels or anything. The thing that you're actually the most sensitive to is eating the wrong frequency. We need you to stop eating the wrong frequency. I need you to think about all the words that you are eating from other people that are making their way into your aura. Projectors are already aura eaters, but you're an aura eater that's a frequency eater on top of it. I am never going to speak to like the validity of somebody's diagnosis for anything or what they should do about it. If this person identifies as autistic, then that's how I'm going to refer to them. Or I'm going to keep that in mind and acknowledge that. But I would venture to say that the stress that leads to the meltdown that comes from the overstimulation, that comes from taking in a lot of the wrong frequency, that also comes from taking in the wrong auras, the wrong definition. I'm like, are you eating someone else's unhealthy emotional definition? Are you eating someone else's unhealthy sacral definition? Like, what do you need to let go of? What do you need to spit out? Taste. Taste cognition. You got to spit out the wrong frequencies. And like, yeah, sound sensitive, but I'm like, let's make you more frequency and language and acoustically sensitive. What are people saying in your presence that you don't want to be hearing anymore? And how much is the stuff that you're hearing that you don't need to be hearing? How much is it wrecking your appetite? Now, I used appetite very loosely there. I used appetite as like a thing because people get hungry, not as in like first color appetite. Um, but you have an active brain, right? You need to eat consistently. But is there something that's getting in the way that stops you from actually eating calories quite consistently? Like, are you getting full on other people's auras, other people's not self garbage, ultimately, not self toxicity? What resonates about high sound is that fasting and restricting calories feels very unhealthy. Yes, active brain. I need you to eat quite a bit, actually. But again, what's the frequency that's being attached to it? Like, for example, if you went through a drive-through and somebody passed you your little baggie of drive-through things, and then they also say, have a good day, they gave you frequency with your food. Now you go through that same drive-through and someone passes you the bag and they're like, get the hell out of here. I never want to see you again. Please don't come back. Do you even want to eat the food that they just gave you? Like, how much did that just turn you off from even eating the thing? My determination and I are in a Cold War. I thought that was, you're very funny. I can appreciate that a lot. Need motivation. What do you need? You're here for the education. Need motivation is educational motivation. What do you need? And what are you going to take action on? Action sense. You're here for the information that you needed. What are you going to do about it now? What else are you curious about? I almost feel cursed when it comes to visibility for my entrepreneurial creative work with websites. I mean, you have a business channel. You have the channel of transformation, like the marrying maiden and duration. There's a quality here of like, I'm ambitious. Can I get the money to go to school? Kind of like you have ambition for sure. You've got entrepreneurial gifts, but it's totally unconscious, which I imagine is very uncomfortable. What you do, share and present is so huge, great, and wonderful. I really don't get why your account's not blowing up. That's an interesting thing. I actually don't know too many people with need motivation who have really big accounts. Most of the accounts that blow up have desire motivation. And also, a lot of accounts that blow up belong to the fifth line profile, like here to share with strangers. You're a 4-6. It's like, I've got my network, and otherwise, I'm on my roof. Leave me alone. There's a lot about your design that honestly just like wouldn't even really like social media that much. There's a good chance that like where you're putting your stuff just isn't actually like the best place for you to be recognized for it. There's a good chance like the app or the algorithm just isn't set up for you. So if it feels like a recognition wound, let's just call it a programming problem. It's got nothing to do with whether or not you should actually get the recognition. I believe your genuine recognition comes from your self-development in terms of turning you into the differentiated guide that you're meant to be, not in terms of like having a nice grid and a lot of followers on Instagram or whatever. You keep coming back to your business because you love doing it. Of course you do. It is part of your genetic makeup, but you're never really financially supported. Totally open ego. Look how much of the business stream stuff for you is unconscious, though. Unconscious 54, unconscious 32, unconscious 44. Like you are a support person. You're meant to give and receive, like, but you're not being financially supported. There's a real good chance you are not charging enough. And it's because it's like, oh, we dropped you at gate 26. We never actually made it all the way to the ego that's going to give the egoic quality of like, I know my worth. Like I feel like you've got the root energy that's like, I'll work for my worth. It just could somebody tell me what that is? And I'm more like, when people try and tell you what your worth is, wait for your spleen to say no. Please, please, please pay attention to when other people try and tell you what your value is. When your spleen goes, not enough, not enough. And not like, like a sacral center, but like your gate 32, whether you're not conscious of it. That's a funny joke. Your gate 32 is definitely going to help you out in terms of money, but you really have to respect it, which means that we really need to respect your design, your body, your energy. And if I go back to the beginning, it's not that you don't respect, but there's something loose about a boundary. And the boundary has to do with the frequency. There's too much of the wrong frequency coming to you. So I take us back again to what aura are you eating and what sound are they making? What frequency are they bringing to you? And does it taste good? How many words are you eating every day that don't taste good to you? That's how we're going to deal with your first transformation. Okay. I really hope that helped.